Welcome back to Doing Bar Things, and oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm recording you guys this close up. Apologize in advance for the fact that everything's a mess and I'm not exactly very handsome. So sorry about that in advance. Um, Thought I would make a video real quick. One big interest I have, aside from PCs, is fishing. And my wife actually got me a Valentine's Day present, so I thought I would make a video about it. Um, so it is the Shimano stradic FM. This is the 2500 HG. So this spinning reel is like 7.4 ounces. It's capable, it says, of 20 pounds of drag. I don't think you'd want to run 20 pounds of drag on a reel this small. Um, and I got it today and I was looking at it and thought, you know what, I'll make a video, um, sort of what my initial out of the box, pulling it out. I haven't even strung it up with, haven't spooled it yet with string, but just sort of examining it. You know, a lot of people, you can kind of tell they're, I don't know, I don't want to say shills, but they're not really giving you a whole lot of individual opinion. And the way that you can tell that is because they will literally just look at the box and go, well, it says it does this, that, and the other. They'll kind of look at it. Um, I, I'm much more of a believer in you need to take something like this out and use it really before you give like the final verdict on it. Now, the good news is, so basically, um, I have experience with a very similar reel to this, and it's the reel that actually made so. Shimano is kind of like the most expensive brand a lot of times, and it's kind of the biggest brand. And I get a little bit uppity about it, like I don't want to pay for that. Other brands can do the same thing, and but I tell you, I've lived with this Shimano Vanford 2500. It's basically exactly the same reel as this, as far as size, capacity, those kind of things. But it is so light, and it's so good that this reel literally can literally converted me to a Shimano guy. It, it I've used Shimano bait casters before and they're awesome, um, but I was using Daiwa, and that noise is just some string sticking out here, guys. It's not the reel. I've used Daiwa spinning reels and some Chinesium spinning reels, off of Amazon for cheap stuff. But like this got me convinced that hey, you know what? It can be worth it to save up a little bit of money and get a more expensive reel. It is so light. It feels so good to use. It's just super smooth. Um, and the line lay on this thing is retarded. It is almost straight, um, which is something that I think is amazing. Um, so it's a really good reel. And what I thought was, well, I got this. They just came out with a new Stradic, so I'll give it a shot. And so far, my experience has been after pulling it out and kind of like messing with it a little bit. It's actually noticeably heavier than the Vanford. Okay, but it's more rigid. Like when you grab the actual rotor, and you kind of put pressure on it, you can feel it's much more rigid, and that's because it's just beefier and thicker. Um, I think it's still the rotor itself. I think is still made of like the CI4 plus stuff, the fancy plastic, but the actual body is metal, so that's what makes it a little bit heavier. But it's not significantly heavier. It's not like it's this thing that's going to weigh you down. you know, um, it might actually be smoother than the Vanford, which is saying something. I thought the Vanford was, or at least my experience with this reel has been, it's an extremely smooth reel, but I think this might actually be even smoother. I get less. Um, I get less of the sort of feel of the gear teeth and stuff in there. Um, so that's pretty good. And yeah, so I'm really excited to use it. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on. I've got a 7 foot medium light um, fast action rod that I'll probably put it on, and then this may be what I run down to the river and try to catch some sand bass on, just to mess around with it, like cast it some, that sort of thing. But I'm gonna have to get it spooled, and I really want to get a good spool job on it. I may take the spool itself and run it up to Bass Pro and buy some ultracast spider wire, probably some 15-pound test, because that stuff's actually really thin, but it's good. Um, and get it spooled with this. That's what I did with the Vanford, and I very much liked it. And honestly, I just wanted this reel. Like, these two reels can basically kind of do the same job. I just wanted it, so I got it. It's another rod, right? I can throw another lure or something on it, whatever. I kind of think 2500 is just. I mean, it's just such a good size. Like it's the right capacity. They tend to be light. Um, it um, it works very well with most rods. Um, Medium to medium light rod is perfect, which honestly you catch base. I mean, for me, I could use this damn near for anything. I could go catch largemouth on it. I could go catch smallmouth, stripers from Texoma. I could go catch um, all the way down to perch and crappie, honestly, and have a good time with this reel. Hell, I could go down the coast and catch redfish. Like I mean, it would only be when something got really super big that you'd be sort of like, well, and it wouldn't even be the reel. It would be you're probably not running as thick of line as you'd like to be, and you're probably not going to be able to put as much pressure as you'd like to. But this thing can do 20 pounds of drag supposedly, and you should never need anything approaching 20 pounds of drag in most scenarios. I find that really funny that they advertise like 30 pounds of drag on some of these Amazon stuff. And it's like, dude, if you crank that thing down to 30 pounds of drag, you probably would, you're going to break your line for anything that's not a tuna. But, if you get like 60-pound braid and you're cranking on an 80-pound yellowfin, then that's a whole different thing, man. Whole different thing. Um, yeah, I would. Uh, I I used and have used and still really do appreciate bait casters. But for some reason, I get older. I just get really tickled and have a good time with these spinning rods and reels. It used to be that they were heavier, clunkier to use. They were kind of more of a pain in the butt than your bait casters, and in a way, they still can be. However, a lot of that has been mitigated now, just with the fact that um, they are lighter. Braid has come a long way, and man, braid is awesome on spinning tackle. Like braid is where you want to go. Be a little bit careful if you get lighter braid. It's lighter braid moving across the surface will cut it, so you don't want that to be your hand. That's kind of one reason why they get like these smooth braids versus the non-smooth braids that have less fibers in them, because non-smooth braid is almost like a sawtooth a little bit, and so you got to really watch it, like it'll cut you. But having said that, it is the best stuff for spin reels. Braid is, and you can get some really good braid nowadays, and spool this up with like 140 or 50 yards, and I mean you're good. You're good. Um, to give you an idea, I mean, if you think about it, 100 yards is a football field. Do you think most freshwater fish are going to run a football field? Not likely. Not likely. Especially if you've got, 7 or 8 pounds of drag, like they're probably not going to go that far. unless the world record carp or buffalo gets a hold of it and they go, shoo, pull a rooster tail or something. That'd be impressive. Um, so yeah, I think this is a good reel. I think my use case is probably going to be in environments where, say, if I run down to the coast and I'm fishing inshore, I probably would rather use this than this. Um, Not that you can't use this, you absolutely can. It may even go on a reel, and I might use it in a scenario. But it's kind of like um, something I don't mind really just cranking down and getting some more drag out of is probably this, because the metal frame will help keep things from contorting. And definitely the rotor, like the rotor is solid. Uh, the rotor on the Vanford uh, will flex a little bit. Like I can feel a little bit of flex in there. This thing is solid. There's barely any flex. You can make it flex, right? But it's, you know, it's definitely not as rigid as this, which makes sense. Like this is plastic, this is metal. Well, even let me correct that real quick. Like I said, I think the rotor, right? So this part, I think this is plastic still. Like I think this is that CI4 plus carbon material that it's fancy plastic. Um, but it's really beefy. Like, let's compare, right? Let's see. You can see that that's thicker, and then if we turn it, you can see the cutout here, maybe, right? See how much is cut out there? Now look at how little is cut out there, right? They did still cut some out to save some weight, but it's not the same. So, um, really seems like a really solid reel. I can't wait to get spooled up, throw it on a rod, and run down to the river, maybe catch some sand bass, some hybrids. That would be a lot of fun. Um, Thinking about it, what about if this video? Um, what about if we make a video about just the very basics of a spinning reel versus what like a bait caster is? Maybe we could do that. Might be good, right? Um, but yeah, anyway, so got a new toy. Just thought I would show it. I do really like it. Um, I think the the quality of it is there seemingly. Um, it is very much like the Vanford in size, right? But again, it's metal. You know, it's got everything is metal. Um, the well, you know, again, except for the rotor is plastic, but I think it's more rigid. It's thicker. Um, it's a little bit heavier. Like you have a trade off for that. Um, it has a lot of features. One that I can't wait to try out is this. I wonder if I can. Uh, Focus. I don't know if I can show you guys this. Maybe that way. Okay, maybe there. So there is like this. Maybe here. Okay, maybe. Yeah, there we go. There's like this little fin thing here. Um, Over here. This little like fin thing. Basically, it's sort of. Um, if you guys can see very well there, but it's sort of like traps the line as it comes through. And as I understand it, it's supposed to keep the line from completely going like falling down. You know, like if you so you make a cast, flip your bail over. Well, you know what you should do is you should pull in the line just a tad, right, to tighten it. So that way, when you're reeling, now it's under that tightness and it will lay onto the spool the way it should. There's this little catch that supposedly catches the line to help it, you know. So even if you do that, say flip out, It hits the water. I flip the bail over. A fish nails it, right? And I go, oh God, and I start reeling right away. Like it catches the line, so that way that's not a problem. Or at least in my opinion, maybe it's not as much of a problem. I have a hard time believing that this is going to completely fix that. I think that's a trademark of just having a spinning reel is when you cast, it hits the water. There's that little bit of slack there, right? So you pull that bit of slack and then you reel after you flip the bail over. So I would be surprised if that actually um, works that well. But that was another kind of interesting thing I thought about. It's like, wow, that's they did take some time and try to think of a way to help somebody with that. So I'd be interested to see how that works. Um, anyway, that's it. So thanks for watching. I will catch you guys in the next one. Maybe I'll make a basics video. Just like hey, here's how spinning reels work. Like here's what the different parts on the spinning reel are that you should be aware of. Because baitcasters can seem a little bit. I could do it for baitcasters too, but baitcasters sometimes to folks fishing for the first time seem a little bit. What's the right word? Intimidating a little bit. They see, they go out there and they try to make a cast and it goes, they get a giant backlash and they're like, oh my god. Um, and sometimes it's a little easier to start out with a spinning reel, which again they're great now. Like obviously you don't have to spend as much as I did on this, to get a decent enough one for sure. Um, but maybe, maybe that would be a good idea. We could just go over like kind of like, hey, here's how you use one. Here's what the basics are, that sort of thing. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, if you don't mind, if you like this incredibly varied content that basically my ADD brain goes through, feel free to hit like and subscribe. Thanks again.